if you are married, for instance, obviously, you know, people in this industry, you know, university, in the university obviously probably aren't, but, you know, people that are married, you know, and their husband or wife won't do that certain thing that really does it for them, you know, or they won't wear that certain outfit that they really like, you know, then what is wrong with that person or those people, you know, together? Or basically that person going and watching that on a film, you know, rather than going, you know what, my missus really ain't doing it for me, I'm going to go and cheat on her because, you know, what's wrong with them watching a porno to get that fix, you know? Nothing's wrong with it. It's a fantasy. I mean, right over a fantasy, not, you know, not going and changing prostitute. Right, basically, if a single man chooses to watch porn as a masturbatory aid, and that keeps that man from going out and committing rape or abusing a child or whatever, which I do believe is wrong. Rape's wrong, and so is abusing children. Then surely that's a good thing, you know. He's doing that instead of going and raping someone. It's a good thing. And at the end of the day, the porn industry is made up of many different people, you know, actors, actresses, producers, photographers, makeup artists, and so on. And each of us has made our own choice to do this. You know, I chose to do it. I, you know, fell into it through, you know, ways and means. Boom, boom. And it's something that I do enjoy, and I've done it for a long time, and I continue to plan on doing so. I know actresses in the industry that have children, that are single parents, you know, they made silly mistakes when they're 16 or 17 and, you know, become pregnant, unfortunately, and, you know, struggle, you know, until they reach an age where they can actually make a decent living. Now I can say they can go back to university and study and go through the education system to get a better job, you know, or they can go and work in Tesco's, you know, and pay a childminder and go home and not actually have enough money to be financially stable. So basically, the porn industry for the girls that I know that, you know, obviously from personal experience, they're in that situation. The porn industry is a wonderful thing because at the end of the day, that girl only has to go to work for 3 or 4 days a week, and she can spend the rest of the time with her child, and she can take her child pretty much wherever she wants to go, whether it be Thorpe Park on a day out or you know, or stuff like that. That's not to say that it's an easy answer. You know, it's not an easy fix to your money problems, because it's goddamn hard work, you know. For example, I'm flying back tomorrow, you know, to start scene at 9 o'clock in the morning, you know, catching a flight at 6 in the morning. Not really, you know, fun, you know, but there we go. Well, we want to get there. So, yeah, and getting up at 6 AM, you know, and possibly driving 4 hours and then working for 3 or 4 hours and then another 4-hour drive home again, it's like a 12 or 13 hour day. It's not easy, you know. So anyone that says porn's easy, just piss off, you know. So if these girls weren't working at all, you know, going back to the government, they'd be obviously paying off the government. And paying off the government, you know, it's fine, you know, if you're in that situation. But it obviously takes money away from our economy, you know, that could be put into other things. And speaking of the economy, I'm obviously self-employed and therefore pay my own taxes, along with every other actor, actress, makeup artist, and so on. And the porn industry is one of the biggest industries in the world. And obviously, Phil Crosby mentioned this as well. In 2007, the porn industry was a $12 billion industry in the United States alone. That's more than the baseball league, the football league, and the basketball league put together. And if you aren't familiar with those, the Californian porn industry profits are said to rival Hollywood's. Can you imagine how much money that puts into the economy? Now, I was going to open it up and say any questions. Am I allowed to do that or not? Okay. As long as there's no silly questions, because Susan already asked me how big's your cock.
Our next speaker is Rabbi Shmuley, and he is the host of Shalom in the Home television program. The Rabbi Shmuley Show on Oprah Winfrey and Friends XM satellite radio. He is the international best-selling author of 19 books
a story about the doctor who calls his patient and says, the test results are back, sit down because I have bad news and worse news. The bad news, you have 24 hours left to live. The worst news, I've been trying to call you since yesterday. My bad news is for 7 minutes you have to hear my arguments against pornography. The worst news, it is a Jewish 7 minutes. Pornography is just how boring it is. I just heard a porn star complain tomorrow morning they were working me like a slave. I have to get up and have sex with a complete stranger. Damn! What are they What are they doing to the poor man? And of course porn is boring, because that's why you need it in such vast quantities. If it interested you, you wouldn't have to click one picture and have 20,000 other pictures come up. Or so my friends tell me. But instead, I want to pursue a different tack. I have a little experiment to do with the women in this room. Yes! I hear a lot of guys respond, but it's actually for the women. If you're a woman in this room, please listen carefully to the following question. It's a precise question. Raise your hand if you need a man. But before you do so, by the way, this podium just went down. They discriminate against short people here. Before you do so, I did not ask you to raise your hand if you can stomach a man. Less so that I ask you to raise your hand if you can survive a man. Raise your hand if you need a man. Raise your hand. I saw only one half an arm go up, something like this. You would think that I asked raise your hand if you have a venereal disease. Please don't raise your hand. Rabbi Shmuley, I have this disease. It's called a man. And I don't know how I got it. How the heck do you get rid of it? Now, another question to the women. So not one woman here needs a man. Raise your hand if you need a refrigerator. Raise your hand. Now, why would the women here acknowledge a dependency on a piece of metal that can cool their milk rather than a piece of flesh that can warm their hearts? The answer? GE brings good things to life, right? You guys don't have GE, okay. Can you imagine we've raised a generation of women who no longer need a man? That's curious. The New York Times just reported for the first time in American history, maybe it's true here, 51% of all women are single. Let me go further. 3/4 of all divorces, that famous 50% statistic you heard about divorce in the Western world, this has nothing to do with men. 3/4 are wives leaving their husbands. And guess what? The chances of them actually remarrying are nil, or very, very slim, because of that famous statistic that if you're a woman 35 and over in America, you have a greater likelihood of being in a terror attack than getting married. I have a friend who's 39 whose apartment was at ground zero on September 11, 2001, and she said to me afterward, let me get this straight. Now that I've been in a terror attack, does that mean